Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, so guys, if the session, so Zoom limits us to 40 minutes, right? And if this session stops, I will just restart it, immediately. So you can just like rejoin. It should take like a couple of seconds to rejoin. Yeah. So
your video and your audio are out of sync, eh? Or is it just me, guys?
yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, but your video and
Okay.
your audio are out of sync. But
Okay.
maybe just carry on. At least we can hear you and see you.
Okay, sure. Cool, guys. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, welcome to another session. And yeah, so today I want us to talk about inclusive design. I'm gonna share my screen. Yeah, just give me a moment. Where is now? Okay, share. And okay, cool. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So before we dive into the details, right? I'm quite keen to, hear what you guys understand about inclusive design. Or whatever that comes to mind, when you hear the term inclusive design.
I'm thinking it's a design that caters for different needs, like and also different user types. So it does not look at a specific niche, but it's accommodative of I think maybe, for example, people who may be using smaller phones and maybe phones that do not have good internet access. And
yeah,
it's a design that caters for situations like that.
Okay. Anyone?
For me, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is being cognizant of differently able-bodied people. So including, differently able-bodied people in our designs.
Okay. And why do you think it matters to, consider different abled people?
Because we are very biased to, one set of able-bodied people. We run with a lot of assumptions that people are not using, like people can see, or they're able to scroll, or certain actions.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Oh shit, I can't record.
So guys, can you please mute yourself?
Was it right is met jou? Want ek as ek zoom op maar ek dink dis 'n security ding met Zoom wat verhoed dat my program dit kan record.
Sorry. Who's this Trapez? Trapez, I'll kick you out or I'll mute you. Yeah, okay. Anyone else? Trapez, did you get the question? Because I'm not sure if you are responding to the question about what do you understand about inclusive design. Karabo?
Yeah, I think it's a design that, is a way of all the people that are on the spectrum, whether it's someone that's colorblind or, someone that might have like a hearing problem. So it's a design that caters to like everyone.
Okay. Yeah, so guys, right, basically, you can find a number of definitions, right? And the main purpose is to really, to have solution that yeah, so Davis. Davis. Okay. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, as I was trying to say, right, it's it's an attempt, right, to provide a solution. The solution could be a product, right? It could be digital product, could be physical product, etc. Right? But I mean, like, there's more into the definition, right? And there are various, like, interpretations, and also various ways of, like, catering a solution that will empower people of all backgrounds and abilities, right? Irrespective of how old they are, how much money they have, where they live, the language that they speak, and irrespective of the color of their skin, etc. Right? So inclusive design, right? It's just another, like, basic way of empowering people, and in different contexts, right? And there's more into it, right, than just inclusive design. There's accessibility, there's inclusive design, there's universal design. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard some of these terms, and I thought it's great that I could just, like, bring them so that we can talk about them and understand the differences.
I think I've heard of them separately, but never thought of them different.
Okay, and what is your understanding of each?
To be honest, I thought it was the same thing. So yeah, just right now I'm just like, hey, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's fine. I'm happy to hear. Anyone else?
Okay.
And it's okay to be confused.
Okay, for me, I thought inclusive and universal design was the same thing. And I know all of them, but I thought inclusive and universal design were used interchangeably.
Okay.
So yeah. And
okay, cool.
my understanding of accessibility is like
yeah, so guys, please switch on your camera if you can. Yeah. Yeah, if not, it's fine, but I'm not saying it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, accessibility is like considering or catering to disabled bodies, and then that applies more to them. Yeah, but yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay, cool. I'm keen to hear someone's understanding.
I'll go for it. I actually understood accessibility as something that was part of inclusive design, because for something to be completely inclusive, it would have to be accessible. And I understood universal design is something that is the same across the board. For example, how Disney Plus is a completely different platform in terms of the quality of experience in South Africa compared to the US, where we're seeing glitches that the US is not seeing. So I guess there's something that's across the board the same.
Okay. Anyone else? Like, I'm just quite keen. So guys, it's not about being correct, but it's also about me having the opportunity to understand, your understanding, right, of these terms. And it's, if you're confused, it's okay. If you think they all mean the same, that's fine too. Lydia? Okay, I'm seeing Davis below you. Davis, are you there? Okay, I'm quite keen to hear more people.
Can I go? Okay,
sure.
For me, accessibility, sorry, how I understand it is like enabling access for people with like disabilities. That's how I understand. And inclusive, I know inclusive is the opposite of exclusive. So inclusive would cater for everybody. And yeah, I think inclusive and universal, I also think they have the same meanings, but yeah, I could be wrong.
Okay, cool. No, that's fine. Yeah, so guys, right, it's okay to be confused, and sometimes, you know, the more you spend time, like, you know, with some of these like phrases and when you investigate them, right, you'll get to understand, oh, okay, cool, that differences, right? And also, like, sometimes when concepts are being born, right, people will interpret them in their own way and go with that interpretation. Okay, so there are big differences between all three, right? Big in terms of execution, not so big in terms of the intent, right? The intent is the same, right? It's really about attempting to provide a solution that enables, that empowers, you know, the different customers to be able to achieve the same goal, considering, you know, their abilities, right? So accessibility, right? So I mentioned varying digital experiences. So so there's a strong focus on accessibility, which is more on the digital space, right? Like if you look at like web accessibility, etc., right? And the main focus there is to really enhance, you know, like the app experience, the web experience, right? You know, and all the, like the digital, like, you know, channels and platforms that you use, right? Whether you think about, I mean, even like smart TV, right? There's so many of these, like, devices, right, where you are able to set, you know, like to change settings, you know, to fit your to suit your need, right? Whether you want to change the color contrast, you know, maybe change the theme, or maybe, you know, you want to use like a screen reader if you if you're blind, etc., right? And maybe, you know, you are in an environment where it's noisy, you can't, like, you know, hear the video, but you know, you need to like read the subtitle, etc., right? And so then you've got the inclusive design, right? So when I say varying, right, so accessibility, that means you have a solution and you have different variation of it, right? So the fact that you can change the settings, that means you can alter, right, that experience, okay? Like as when the need arises, okay? And then the inclusive design, right? Then it goes beyond just so there's like digital focus, and then there's the digital and the physical, right? Where people now like, okay, cool. Even when you look at how companies provide an omnichannel experience, right? If you try to say, okay, cool, I want my website to be accessible, right? I want, you know, good color contrast, a good, you know, font size, etc., right? And, you know, I want people who are reading an article to just click on it, you know, to be able to listen to it. And that's something that Medium is doing now, right? If you're on your phone and you're reading an article on Medium, right, and you jump onto your car, you can just, you know, tap into the, option to read the article for you, right? It's an AI generated capability. You know, it doesn't just like read the article in a robotic manner, right? It has got that, like, you know, human feel, which is kind of great, right? And yeah, and also it's just about the context, right? So, but now if you're doing that, then it means that, okay, if you've got a physical presence, right, you can't say, you know, yes, we provide accessibility online, but we don't provide it like in other channels, right? Do you have, like, you know, wide open doors that are accessible in your buildings, right? Also even your pamphlets that we have that are hanging there, right? Can people see them? Are using good color contrast, etc., right? And even the graphs that you use and so forth, right? So inclusive design, right? It just goes a step further than accessibility, right? It's really about the focus, right? Yes, if your understanding of accessibility is overlapping with inclusive design, it's fine. But the main point is really about taking this thing a step further, right? And the third one is universal design, right? Universal design. So when you say there's one digital or physical experience for all, right? You don't say, I want to design, let's say a simple page, right? And say, okay, for this page, if you can't see the font size, I want to allow someone to increase the font size. Or if someone doesn't see the color contrast, I want to allow someone to increase it, right? With universal design, you produce that one solution that is universal. And that means that color contrast or the font size for any person, it should be good enough, right? So you don't have a variation of that same solution. You've got one single experience, right? Like, for instance, I will show you like later, right? Like, in some buildings, but anyways, let's not get there, but I'll show you some examples and we'll talk more about them, right? But the key difference is that with universal design, from the beginning, you have an intent to provide one solution, right? If, let's say, you're working with I don't know, that those things when you walk into the bathroom to urinate, right? For small boys and men, right? You can find like a middle, like a ground in terms of the height, right? But with inclusive design, you might end up having three, like, one of those things, urinary something, I forgot what they're called. But anyways, if you're standing there and you're peeing, right? You can have one for like, for 5-year-olds or 10-year-olds or 20-year-olds, etc., right? But that's inclusive, right? But with the universal design, you can find that middle ground. Okay, cool. This thing is not too low, it's not too high, right? And what is your 80% that you want to target? Then you find that middle ground, right? You do it once and then you cater for all. With inclusive, you can have three physical urinary thingies, and if it was a digital experience, right? You would for the same thing, you would need to press a button to lower it. Then that is the accessibility, which is like digital. You'd click on it, it goes down to your level. If you're small or short, or if you're tall or if you're older, it goes up, right? So these are like different approaches, right? Obviously, there are costs and implications involved, right, in the process. And for advanced, like, designers, it's much easier to achieve a universal design. But it's harder. It's much easier if you've got the experience, right? But if you're a junior designer, it's much easier to achieve an accessible, solution, because you don't have to worry too much about finding that middle ground, right? You can just provide the three instances of a solution and and allow a person to choose, right? Obviously, with the universal design is that a customer won't need to make an effort, because by default, the solution would kind of like meet them, right? Obviously, it might not be optimum, for that particular customer, but it is good enough for the 80%. So just to like illustrate this, right, in a different way, there's the universal design, there's accessibility, inclusive, and there is what we call usable, right? Whenever you design a product, whether it's physical or digital, right, you want it to be usable, right? But beyond just like the usability, right, how do you make sure that it is accessible, right? So universal design like sits in the middle, right? If you can achieve a universal design, like you've done like an awesome job, right? Because you can save money for the company, right? Because they don't have to produce different instances of the same solution. They don't need to maintain this, different instances of the same solution, right? You optimize on space, you optimize on the material if it is physical, right? But yeah. So I want to show you guys this example. I'm keen to hear what your thoughts are. Hello?
For me, it pretty much looks like the same thing, but in different forms. Like it's the same concept, but in different forms. Because there's a ramp in both pictures, and there are also steps to accommodate, people on wheelchairs, and also like steps for other people.
Okay. Someone, okay, what's your name? I don't know, is it Jabez or something? Dupreez. Please, yeah, talk. Hello? Jabez Dupreez, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I can't hear you. I'm not sure if you're speaking, but I saw that your head.
Can you hear me now? You should be able
Yes,
to.
I can.
Sorry,
Yes,
I was
I
here. My laptop's mic switched for some reason. I'm not sure why. I'm gonna leave my camera open because I'm in a dark environment actually. I just wanted to say, from what I can see, both they serve the same function. But the one on the right looks a bit more simplified compared to the one on the left. So they are, I would say they are both they're both using, or I don't know what the word is, but I'm going to say using an inclusive design. And both also accessible because there's a ramp for people in wheelchairs. But I'm going to say the one on the right uses a shorter path to get to where it wants to go, kind of thing, maybe. Yeah, those are just my thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. So let's assume that these both are actually leading you to the same floor. It's a pity that I had to find a picture, from somewhere. Obviously, the picture on the right looks shorter because it's for it stairs and a path for a wheelchair for another building. Okay, that sits somewhere different in this world, right? But I want you guys to look at the fundamental design, right? Never mind that the other one looks much bigger, the other one is short, right? Even if let's assume that they were covering the same distance, or actually they were meant to help the customer to get to the same height.
It would seem like the one on the left is more universal than the one on the right. Like the one on the right is more an expression of inclusive design.
Yeah.
And that the one on the left is more universal because it's kind of merged. It's kind of merged that it benefits everybody. All in one design. Because I guess it's fitting that it shows you long stairs, because generally the design for long stairs is that you have this, you take a break in between flights, even as a fully abled individual. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean that's 100% correct, right? So I just wanted to show you guys, the difference, right? They're both meant to help, customers who are using a wheelchair, or someone maybe who's on crutches, or maybe like someone who's older who can't climb the stairs, because also for someone who's like temporarily injured, if you've got a hip like injury, right? It's much like it's safer for you, right? To move up gradually in a smooth way, right? So that you don't overextend like your hip, right? And the reason why I'm mentioning these other examples is that there are permanent permanent situations for customers, and there are temporal situations for customers, right? And so if you look at the design on the left, right, it's exactly that, right? It's a universal design. The intent was to integrate, the solution, like seamlessly, right? Actually, the design looks as one. There is no like, okay, cool, we have a path for people who are using a wheelchair, and we've got people who are who are fully mobile, right? So the reason why this is important, right, is that the customer behavior is changing, right? And the interpretation of what we think is inclusive is also changing, because someone can say, but yeah, no, but why do we have a different path, right? Why do the other kids take this route and the other ones they need to go left, right? And in some instances, right, this can be a bit extreme, but in this case, it's because the paths are closer to one another, right? But in some instances, you might find that you need to go to the back of the building in order for you to access like a friendlier like path, right? And a universal solution, right, is meant to get rid of the distinction, right? The notable distinction, so that even if you have a temporal situation, right, you don't want to be seen as if like you've been like you don't want to see yourself as like different from others, right? So the reason why I'm mentioning that is that we go from like not having accessible solutions to having them, and then the next question is like, okay, cool, but it's better for us to actually achieve this solution in a particular way, right? So that's why I'm mentioning this, right? Because like there are different levels to it. I want to show you guys this design. I'm keen to hear your thoughts. Anything that comes to mind? Hello? Anyone?
Can I ask what this is? Is it like a building, or yeah, I just wanted to ask what it is.
Yeah, it kind of looks like.
I'm quite keen to hear what your interpretation is and what you think of it, or whatever it is.
Okay, can I go?
Sure.
From my thoughts are maybe it's a design that also includes the environment, that instead of just being, I might be going off track, but instead of like just
no, it's fine.
Instead of just being just concrete, but it also just integrates or comes together with the environment to it comes together with the environment, and is a sustainable and yeah, that's what I'm getting from it, from what I see. Yeah.
Okay.
So from my side, what I see is basically the same, almost the same as what we saw in the previous screen, because it seems there's different ways to get to the same thing. So if you may see here, I think it's a building, and there's like different floors, I think it's like 2 of them. But you don't necessarily have to use stairs per se, but you can also follow the path in order for you to get to a different floor there. So that's what I see here.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Yeah, like I'm just asking, guys. I'm not gonna share my thoughts on this one. I'm just asking. I'm just quite keen to hear what your thoughts are, and I'll move on. Simpiwe?
I'm busy looking at the building, but what I'm seeing here is the rooftop. I think I would say it serves 2 purposes for the house or for the building. So it keeps the environment eco-friendly, but you can also water the